March 14th, 1849, a courthouse in Lowndes County, Alabama burns to the ground. Officials call it an accident. An overturned lamp, but in the basement, chained to iron rings embedded in stone walls. Investigators find 3 bodies. The county records from 1847 to 1849, property deeds, marriage certificates, probate documents, all destroyed. For over a century, families in Lowndes County whispered about what really happened at Bell River Plantation. About twin daughters of a wealthy colonel. About an enslaved man named Marcus who documented everything before he vanished. What you're about to hear has been pieced together from surviving letters, medical records, and testimonies sealed until 1963. This is the story they tried to erase. February 3rd, 1847, Colonel Nathaniel Sutton is found dead in his study at Bell River Plantation, slumped in his leather chair with papers scattered across his desk. Dr. Amos Grayfield pronounces it a heart seizure. The man was 56, worked himself to exhaustion. Simple as that. But nothing about this death is simple. The colonel's dinner from the night before sits barely touched. A cup of coffee shows a peculiar glittering residue at the bottom. His final letter to his attorney ends mid-sentence. I have made certain arrangements regarding the future of my daughters which must be executed precisely. The pen trails off the page as if his hand suddenly lost strength. 2 women stand in the hallway watching the proceedings. Sarah and Catherine Sutton, twin daughters, age 22. They wear matching black mourning dresses despite having no prior knowledge of his death. Their faces show no tears, no shock, no grief, just watchful, identical calm. Here's what makes this stranger. The Sutton twins aren't legally the colonel's daughters. They're his property. In 1824, Colonel Sutton purchased an enslaved woman named Ruth from a Charleston trader. The bill of sale described her as having uncommonly fair complexion and Gentile bearing. Ruth gave birth to twins in 1825. The colonel raised them in the main house, educated them with private tutors, dressed them in fine clothes ordered from New Orleans, but he never freed them, never acknowledged them in any legal document. On paper, Sarah and Catherine Sutton are slaves, Catherine Sutton are slaves. The colonel controlled every aspect of their existence. He installed locks on their bedroom doors that only opened from the outside, required weekly written reports on their activities, their thoughts, their dreams. He was conducting an experiment, and his daughters were the subjects. But the colonel's obsessions went far beyond his own children. Bell River Plantation wasn't just a cotton operation. It was a laboratory. The colonel owned 63 enslaved people. He kept meticulous records on all of them. Measurements, observations, genealogies traced back 3 generations. He believed humans could be improved through selective breeding, the same way you improve livestock. His journals documented which enslaved people he forced together, which children he kept, which families he separated and sold away when they no longer served his research. He called it advancing scientific knowledge. It was systematic rape and torture disguised as agriculture, and Sarah and Catherine knew everything. They'd read his journals when he travelled to Mobile on business. They'd listened at doors. They knew what happened in the slave quarters after dark. They knew which enslaved people were their half-siblings, and they learned to hate their father with a cold, patient fury. 3 days after the funeral, attorney Jeremiah Osgood arrives from Mobile with the colonel's will. Sarah and Catherine sit together as he reads the provisions. The plantation and everything on it, all lands, structures, livestock, equipment, and human property, goes to them jointly, but there are conditions. Both daughters must marry men of suitable character, and standing within 24 months. Both marriages must produce legitimate children within that time frame. Both must maintain the plantation at current levels of productivity, fail any condition. Bell River and all its assets will be sold at public auction. Then Osgood hands them a private letter from their father. Inside, the colonel's handwriting covers 3 pages. He explains that he observed their unnatural attachment to each other, their rejection of normal feminine interests in courtship and marriage. He concluded they would never voluntarily separate, never form appropriate alliances, so he created a situation where they have no choice. Marry and procreate, or lose everything. The letter's final paragraph is the cruelest. I have made arrangements to ensure you choose wisely. My network of correspondence extends throughout the state and beyond. They will be watching. Remember always that you are what I made you, and you cannot escape the fundamental truth of your nature. The blood that flows through your veins is both your privilege and your prison. After Osgood leaves, the twins remain in their father's study. Catherine breaks the silence. We can't find suitable husbands in 24 months. He knew that. He designed this to fail. Sarah's response changes everything. Not if we control every variable. Father taught us that humans can be bred like livestock, that every aspect of reproduction can be managed and directed. We'll prove him right. Just not the way he intended. She opens her father's desk and pulls out a leather-bound journal. His breeding logs, 20 years of documentation. Which combinations produced which results, which bloodlines he considered superior, which individuals he designated for his program. He was a monster, Catherine whispers. He was, Sarah agrees. But he was also thorough. And somewhere in these records is the solution to our problem. April 1847. The spring auction in Hanville transforms the Courthouse Square into a marketplace of human misery. Enslaved people stand on a raised platform, while white men examine them like livestock, checking teeth, testing muscle tone, asking invasive questions about work history and health. Sarah and Catherine attend with their overseer Prashid. They wear black veils, still in mourning, which gives them anonymity in the crowd. The morning sales proceed predictably. Field workers going to plantation owners, domestic slaves to town families. So children torn from parents and sold to different buyers. That then shortly before noon, something unusual appears on the auction block. Next lot, the auctioneer calls, property of the Granville estate recently deceased. One male, age approximately 28, name of Marcus, got his letters. Configure. Worked as house servant and tutor to the Granville children. No history of rebellion, no attempts to run. Starting bid, $1,000. Marcus stands on the platform with straight posture and a level gaze. Neither defiant nor submissive, he wears clean but worn clothing. His hands show no calluses, the hands of someone who worked with ledgers, not cotton. His skin is several shades lighter than most people sold that morning, suggesting mixed ancestry. But what catches Sarah's attention is something else entirely, the way he scans the crowd. Not with defeated resignation, but with calculation, as if he's evaluating potential buyers just as they evaluate him. Educated slaves are risky, someone in the crowd calls out. Gets ideas above his station. The bidding opens slowly. Most planters don't want an educated male slave. Too much potential for trouble, but Sarah leans close to Pritchett. Bid, Miss Sarah, we don't need. Bid, the price climbs. 1,000, 1,200, 1,300, 1,300. A merchant from Montgomery drops out at 1,600, shaking his head at the inflated price. Sarah has just paid more than market value for a single male slave. People will talk. 3 days later, Marcus arrives at Bell River. Pritchett leads him directly to the main house where Sarah and Catherine wait in the study. You can read and write, Sarah says. It's not a question. Yes, ma'am. You tutored the Granville children. What did you teach them? Reading, writing, arithmetic. Some geography and history. Whatever their father requested. Catherine circles him slowly, appraising. The Granvilles were known abolitionists, Quakers, I believe. They allowed their slaves to be educated. For the first time, something flickers in Marcus's eyes. Wariness, perhaps. Or recognition that this conversation is more complicated than it appears. Mr. Granville believed all people possessed souls and minds worthy of development, ma'am. And you? Sarah asks. What do you believe? I believe I'm standing in front of two women who paid too much for me and who clearly have something specific in mind beyond field labour. The twins exchange glances. Their father taught them to view enslaved people as objects, incapable of analysis or autonomous thought. Marcus just demonstrated both within 30 seconds. We have an unusual situation, Sarah says carefully. Our father died recently, leaving conditions on our inheritance that require creative solutions. We need someone educated, discreet, and capable of understanding complex arrangements. What kind of arrangements? The kind that must remain private within this household, Catherine replies. You'll live in the main house, not the quarters. You'll have access to our father's library. You'll be treated well, fed properly, given freedoms that would be extraordinary elsewhere. But in exchange, you'll do exactly what we say when we say it, without question or hesitation. Marcus is silent for a long moment. And if I refuse these unnamed terms, then you'll be sold south, Sarah says flatly. To cotton plantations in Mississippi where educated slaves are worked to death in the fields to break them of any intellectual pretensions. I can have you on a boat within a week. It's not an empty threat, and Marcus clearly knows it. What do you want from me? That depends, Catherine says. Catherine says, can you keep secrets, even ones that could be used as weapons? I've kept secrets my entire life, Ma'am. Had to survive. Sarah walks to the window, looking out across the plantation grounds. Our fathers will require us to marry within 24 months or lose everything. But we have no intention of submitting to marriages arranged by men who view us as property to be managed. So we're going to subvert the terms while technically fulfilling them. Marcus goes very still. He's beginning to understand. You will, Catherine says. But first, we need to know if you can be trusted completely and absolutely. Over the following days, Sarah and Catherine test Marcus. In ways both subtle and overt, they give him access to their father's library and watch what he reads. They ask his opinions on political matters and listen for hints of abolitionist sympathies. They observe how he interacts with the other enslaved people at Bell River. Marcus proves remarkably adaptable. He keeps to himself, speaks carefully, demonstrates an intelligence that's clearly been honed through years of navigating dangerous social terrain. What the twins don't know is that Marcus has his own secrets. The Granvilles had indeed been Quakers with abolitionist leanings. More than that, they'd been part of an informal network that collected testimony from enslaved people about plantation realities. Marcus spent 5 years documenting atrocities. Recording names, dates and details in coded shorthand he developed when the Granvilles died. Their relatives sold off the estate before anyone could discover the trunk hidden in the root cellar containing years of carefully preserved evidence. Marcus managed to retrieve his most important notebooks before the sale, hiding them in a hollowed-out Bible that no white person bothered to inspect. He'd been bought and brought to Bell River, expecting another period of careful observation and documentation. Instead, he found himself at the centre of something far stranger. By mid-May, the arrangement has clarified. Marcus will serve as the twins' private secretary, managing household accounts and correspondence, but more than that, he'll be their confidant in a scheme they haven't yet fully explained. Sarah reveals their plan one evening in early June, after the house slaves have retired, and the three of them are alone in the study. Our fathers will require us to marry and bear children within 24 months, she begins. The executors must approve our choice of husbands, men of suitable character and standing. But the will says nothing about the husbands being suitable for us, only that they meet external criteria. I'm not following, Marcus says. Catherine smiles, and there's something almost feral in it. We're going to marry men we can control completely. Elderly men or sickly ones, or men desperate enough for the connection to a wealthy plantation that they'll agree to any terms. Men who will give us legal legitimacy without interference in how we run Bell River. And the children. Marcus asks, though he's beginning to understand. Biology is biology, Sarah says bluntly. Our father spent 20 years proving that lineage can be strategically managed. The executors need to see marriages and pregnancies. They don't need to see what happens behind closed doors. The full implications hit Marcus like cold water. They want him to father their children, to create the appearance of legitimate heirs while the twins maintain control through marriages that exist only on paper. You're asking me to commit an act that could get all of us killed. He says slowly, Your father's journals, his correspondence, his breeding logs, all of it. If I'm risking my life for this scheme, I deserve to understand the full context. The twins consider this. Giving Marcus unrestricted access to their father's papers is dangerous. It says nothing about remaining married. I could marry, become pregnant, and then accidents happen. Especially to sickly husbands. The room falls silent. Marcus, sitting at the desk where he's been copying correspondence, feels ice water run down his spine. Greyfield arrives 2 days later, irritated at being summoned to treat slaves. He examines the sick women with barely concealed disgust, confirms the diagnosis, and prescribes mercury treatments with cheerful confidence. A course of treatment takes months, he says, washing his hands. Accept Thomas's kiss with perfect composure. Smile and accept congratulations from guests who have no idea what kind of performance they're witnessing. That night, after the guests have departed, and Thomas has drunk himself into a stupor, Sarah comes to the study where Marcus waits. Thomas, stumbling drunkenly toward his wife's bedroom, the three conspirators fall silent, listening to him curse as he fumbles with the door handle, then give up and shuffle away. He's gone. Sarah speaks quietly. We can't do this again, Catherine. If you poison Lawrence, it's over. It's over. His own role in the twins' scheme, he enlists Isaiah, a field worker, to deliver the documents to Sturgis in Selma 2 weeks later. Isaiah returns, confirming delivery. Marcus feels simultaneously liberated and terrified. The evidence now exists beyond the twins' control. The twins settle into motherhood while maintaining efficient plantation operations. Marcus spends evenings preparing for departure, but finds himself reluctant to leave. He's developed attachment to the children he fathered. Chained to iron rings embedded in the stone walls, identified as vagrants seeking shelter, though no one looks carefully at why vagrants would be chained in a courthouse basement. The investigation concludes an overturned lamp caused the accidental fire. Most county records from 1847, 1849 are destroyed.